Can a few lines of code alter the course of history? And can one act of defiance ignite an idea whose time has come? You all know the legend, Satoshi Nakamoto, a hidden genius who launched Bitcoin into a world broken by 2008's financial betrayal. A trustless and unconfiscatable middle finger to all governments and banks that have choked us for centuries. A few lines of code that answers these questions with a resounding yes, and that became my lifeline when my own country's banks stole everything I had overnight. Let me take you there. A story of despair turned defiance, of a collapse that almost broke me, and a discovery that completely rebuilt me. Because for all of Bitcoin's promises, what happens when that seed lands in a place like Lebanon, where corruption doesn't just threaten your money, it erases your entire life in an instant? That's when Bitcoin stops being a story and starts being survival. I'll never forget the moment it hit me. It was 2019. I was standing in a bank line in Lebanon, a country I'd always called home, a land of resounding beauty, yes, but one hiding a rotten core. The banking system had imploded, corrupt and reckless to its core, an entire house of cards that finally fell. I had worked for years, long hours, disciplined savings, sacrifices to build a future for myself and my family. I was financially comfortable. I had enough to live very well. And then overnight, it was all gone. The banks froze the accounts, and the government shrugged as millions of people, teachers, parents, farmers, doctors, watched their entire savings disappear. Years of sweat and hope wiped out, just like that. I stood there with hundreds of others, a sea of desperate faces, old men with trembling fingers, mothers clutching onto their kids, and young folks that had just started to build for their futures. We begged for our own money, money that we had earned, money that was ours. And they just looked at us through that bulletproof glass and said, "Sorry, there is nothing we can do." So one day, I had a secure future. The very next, absolutely nothing. Homeless. That moment broke something very deep, but it also woke something up. I could give up, let despair swallow me, and become another casualty of their greed. Or I could rise up, fight back, and find a way to reclaim what was stolen, not just from me, but from millions like me. And I chose to rise. That choice ignited a quest, a burning need to find out why this happened, how it was even possible, and what could be done to prevent from happening it again. I dove into the history of money, the lies we've been fed, the mechanics of a system that was created to steal and keep us down. And that search led me to Bitcoin. At first, even I didn't get it. Digital cash, no central authority, sounded too good to be true. But the more I read, the more I learned, the more I understood, this was not a tool. This was a revolution. The only revolution that truly matters. Because you see, Lebanon was not the exception. It was the rule. And I'm sure some of you have felt this too. Maybe not in a bank line, but perhaps with a bill you struggle to pay or a system that let you down at some point. That is why we're here. You see, the problem isn't one corrupt government or one reckless bank. It's the entire system. A global web of financial oppression where those in power print money out of thin air, devaluing our time, our labor, while they live for free. Think about it. The banks gamble with your money every single day. When they win, they keep the profits, the bonuses, the yachts, the private jets. But when they lose, who pays? You do. I did. We all do. They call it a bailout, but this is nothing more than theft with a fancy name. A system where your savings aren't even yours. They are fake digits on a screen that can be erased, confiscated, and erased whenever they decide. And here's something else they don't tell you. When your world collapses, no one is coming to save you. Not the IMF, not the local bank, and not your government. Especially not your government. After Lebanon fell apart, I didn't just lose my money. I lost an entire belief system. See, I was raised to think that if you work hard, stay honest, follow the rules, everything will be just fine. That is the lie we've all been fed. Because the rules were never made for us. They were made about us. Designed to keep us trapped in a machine that only serves the parasites who created it. These parasites. Okay? And I'm not alone. There are millions across the globe right now living my story in real time. Crushed by inflation, robbed by capital controls, and punished for simply trying to protect their own savings. These are not speculators. These are regular folks that found Bitcoin not to get rich, but to survive. And when they grasp it, when they finally hold that seed phrase for the first time in their hands, you can see the shift. It's not financial, it's spiritual. It's the moment they stop being victims and start being sovereign. That is what Bitcoin gives us. And that is why the corrupt legacy system is petrified of it. Because they cannot tax it at will. They cannot inflate it. They cannot corrupt it. They cannot control it. And they sure as hell cannot stop it. Bitcoin is the separation of money and state. It is the game changer. See, Bitcoin is not run by a company that you can shut down. It's not controlled by a government you can bribe. It's not run by a bank you can bail out. Bitcoin is money by the people, for the people. It is trustless. You don't need to trust anyone to use it. It is permissionless. There is no force in this universe that can stop you from transacting in it. And it's unconfiscatable. No bank can seize it, no dictator can steal it, and no crisis can erase it. For the first time in history, we have a real chance to opt out of this rigged system. A real chance to reclaim what is rightfully ours, our time and our energy. But there is a catch. You have got to do this right. You must hold your Bitcoin in self-custody. If you don't own the private keys, you don't own the Bitcoin. Okay? If you leave it on an exchange, or trust it to someone else, or another institution, you are right back in their system, vulnerable and susceptible to the same theft, the same collapse that I lived through. Sit with that for 1 second, because this is not just a technical detail. This is the heart of the matter. Custody is everything. Bitcoin in self-custody is the Bitcoin revolution. You would not trust your house keys to a random strangers, right? and you would not trust your life savings to a bank if you had the choice, right? Well, now you do. Self-custody is power. Quiet, invisible power. And it completely changes the way you walk through this world. You are no longer asking for permission. You are no longer at their mercy at all. I learned that lesson the hard way, unfortunately. After Lebanon, I dove headfirst into Bitcoin, but even I made mistakes. I trusted platforms I shouldn't have. I lost more, not to the market, but to my own ignorance. It was a brutal, humbling punch to the gut, but it lit a fire in me. If I can make this mistake, so can millions of others. And I couldn't let that happen. That is why, after many months of painful lessons, I founded the Bitcoin Way. Our mission here is simple but urgent: to help educate and empower anyone who wants to opt out, to teach you how to regain full control of your wealth, how to protect it, and how to get it right the first time. Because the next collapse isn't if, it's when. And when that day comes, you can either be its victim or you can be free. The choice is completely yours. Just think back to a time not that long ago. A time when a paycheck used to buy a home. Not a tiny little apartment, but a home with a yard. A time when families had 4, 5, even 6 kids without blinking because the money was enough. A time when no one woke up choking on debt, interest rate, and inflation. What happened to that time? I'll tell you exactly what happened. We traded that freedom for convenience. We trusted their system. We believed the lies of the fake politicians. We believed the golden promises that the banks gave us. Don't worry, we're regulated, we're compliant, your money is safe with us. And while we were busy with our lives thinking it was, they chained us with debt and lies. That is the trap we are all in, from Beirut, Lebanon, to every bloody city on earth, no exceptions. It is why a young couple today cannot dream of owning a home without a 30-year chain. It's why young families struggle with 2 or more jobs just to keep the lights on. And it's why more and more nations crumble under devalued currencies, while those in power print more and laugh. Bitcoin is here to break these chains. It is a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account, all in one. We have never had anything like this before, ever. Gold has some value, but it's highly manipulated and extremely hard to move. Cash may still buy today, but it is 100% fading tomorrow. Bitcoin does all three. One system, one tool, one standard, built for the internet, built for us. Understanding the macro of Bitcoin is important. The money printing, the corruption, the inflation. Yes, it's very important to be clued into all of this stuff. But the way you win in Bitcoin is by understanding the protocol, the hardware, the keys, the custody. This is not an investment. This is a skill set, a mindset, and a discipline. If you don't learn how to use it right, you will make the same mistakes I did. You will fall into the same traps. You will get wrecked, and Bitcoin will not care. Which brings me to another very important point. Governments, banks, and institutions will push a narrative that Bitcoin is just digital gold, a commodity, an asset to hoard and never ever spend. Never sell your Bitcoin. They might even tell you it's too hard for you to use. It's too risky for you to hold it yourself. But they'll happily offer to do it for you and provide a whole buffet of services around it. Don't fall for it. This is nothing more than a shameless prey on your ignorance and fear to keep you dependent on them. You don't need them. Satoshi did not create a white paper of a shiny trinket. Bitcoin is currency, peer-to-peer money. And it wasn't created to extend the lifeline of fiat currencies or to play along with them. It was created to replace them entirely by sound money that no one can manipulate or corrupt. And it is working. There are thousands of merchants around the globe today that accept Bitcoin. Tech stores, coffee shops, even places here in Prague. It's not everywhere yet, but every day more wake up. Every day more people embrace the only sound money that we've ever had. And the day it flows like cash, it's much closer than you think. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to be a tech genius to join this revolution. You don't need a PhD in cryptography or a basement full of computers. All you need is a willingness to learn and the right teacher. That is what we do at the Bitcoin Way. Because Bitcoin isn't just for the elite. It's for the single mom working 2 or more jobs. It's for the farmer in the remote village. It's for the student with big dreams and empty pockets. It's for all of us. So just imagine a world where your money can no longer be devalued by any politician, where you can send value across borders anytime you want, no third-party fees, no delays, to help anyone in need. A world where we are no longer dodging their system, but building our very own. I often think back to the bank line in Lebanon. The anger, the hatred, the betrayal, the helplessness. And then I look at where I am now, standing right here with all of you, part of something unstoppable, and I feel hope. Bitcoin isn't a magic fix. It will not erase every scar overnight. There might be some challenges, perhaps even moments of doubt, but it's a spark. And sparks powerful enough to ignite an idea whose time has come. And these sparks are already turning into wildfires. So I ask you, are you ready? Are you ready to step up, to learn, to fight for a life worth living? Because Bitcoin is here, now, waiting. It is a real chance for every single one of us to regain full control over our time and energy and to rebuild a future that they cannot, 100% cannot touch. If you're curious, inspired, want to know more, please come find me. I'll be at our booth at the Bitcoin Way, happy to answer any of your questions and to get you started. Because you see, this isn't just my story. It's all our stories. And together, we can and must write this next chapter. Thank you.
Secure your BTC Prague 2026 ticket at the lowest possible price now.